During recent summer heat waves, Britons were summarily ordered to remove installed air conditioning units under net zero rules, while France's climate minister expressed outright horror at the idea of artificial indoor cooling. Intimate decisions about the temperature of your home, the car you drive, and the food you eat are increasingly treated as ecological sins. They have been reframed as activities requiring strict government oversight and centralized control. This specific brand of political anxiety gained massive cultural traction 20 years ago with the release of Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. This chart tracks the financial toll of that narrative since the film's release. Governments and private markets have spent $15 trillion globally on the green energy transition. Before allocating trillions more, we should run a strict empirical audit. We must check those original apocalyptic predictions against the observable reality of the last 2 decades. In the mid-2000s, motivated observers warned of expanding deserts, collapsing ecosystems, and widespread starvation driven by rising temperatures. But look at this global map produced by a 2016 NASA-led study. It tracks global vegetation density using satellite data. The Earth did not dry out. It experienced a massive increase in green vegetation, roughly twice the size of the continental United States. The biological mechanism driving this is clear. Elevated carbon dioxide levels allow plants to partially close their stomata, the tiny pores on their leaves. This reduces their water loss in arid environments, explaining why drylands like the Sahel are greening the fastest. That biological advantage translates directly to agriculture. This data visualization highlights staple crop yields over the same timeline. Far from collapsing, yields for rice, wheat, and soybeans jumped by 10 to 25%. The persistent warning of a dying, barren Earth operates as an anti-truth, a premise that stands in direct opposition to the observable reality of a thriving, greener planet. Now, let's audit the energy solutions purchased with that $15 trillion. Focusing on large-scale wind and solar infrastructure. This comparative bar chart reveals the mathematical hurdle of weather-dependent power. Wind and solar typically operate at only 25 to 35%, while nuclear and natural gas plants run dependably at 90%. Because the wind stops blowing and the sun sets, power grids must maintain nearly equal capacity in fossil-fired backup systems. This doubles the cost and complexity of the entire energy network. Despite the demand for carbon reduction, many climate activists actively campaign to shutter existing nuclear plants, while mandating weather-dependent systems that require those fossil fuel backups. By rejecting the most efficient path to zero emissions, nuclear power, the movement pivots toward a total reorganization of society. This rejection facilitates the degrowth, wealth redistribution, and central planning models advocated by prominent ideological leaders. The climate panic functions as an ideological framework to justify totalizing state control rather than an objective response to real-world data. In economics, the true price of any decision is its opportunity cost. We must ask what kind of world we could have built with $15 trillion. This line graph illustrates Wright's law, a principle stating that industrial production costs drop 10 to 15% every time manufacturing capacity doubles. Apply that math to the mass production of nuclear reactors. Instead of subsidizing intermittent wind and solar panels, $15 trillion could have financed a fleet of 11,000 new, standardized, low-CO2 nuclear reactors. A fleet of that scale would supply abundant electricity to 6 billion people at modern living standards, dropping global electricity prices by 95%. Cheap, abundant electricity solves other critical resource constraints. Large-scale water desalination becomes practical enough to irrigate the Sahara and eliminate drought as a civilizational threat. Global prosperity and environmental restoration depend on the deliberate, empirical pursuit of energy abundance, a goal far removed from the politics of forced scarcity.